I moved to New York about 2.5 years ago. And the week I was here, I was in the subway at like 4 in the morning, and the platform was empty except for this book. And it was a sci-fi choose-your-own-adventure book. I still have it. A year and a half later, I found a room for rent in this loft space with 14 people. And outside the front door, painted on a pole, were the words, "Choose your own adventure." I knew I was in the right place. The 14 people ranged from foot fetishers to raw foodists, from massage therapists to yoga teachers, from DJs to actors, from Korea to Canada, Australia to Chile. And then there was me, the Midwestern guy from St. Louis, who was into baseball, go-karts, and partying. Now, the loft had its own website, and it coined the place as a holistic, multicultural healing center dedicated to spirit, healing arts, and community. And there was a picture of the founder in this Indian-style guru-like pose. My dad called just to make sure I hadn't joined a cult. Well, about 3 months into being there, the founder came to me and asked if I'd be interested in ayahuasca ceremonies, and that if I wanted to take the hallucinogenic for free, I could volunteer to be a guardian. He said that a guardian would help people from the ceremony to the bathroom and the bathroom back to the ceremony. He also said that there'd be about 20 to 30 people sitting in a circle and the shaman playing some music, and that ayahuasca was a purgative drug and people would be shitting and vomiting for 6 to 8 hours. Whoopee. So I show up, and there were 4 other roommates/guardians, and we're all wearing white. And I'm watching these strangers come into our house, sitting in a circle on mattresses, waiting for about a dozen other strangers to come in and trip. And as the shaman comes in and sits down, I think, I have entered the twilight zone. And I was about to watch some cult ritual suicide or something. Right? The shaman was this American body psychologist who coined himself a neo-shaman, and he was total metro spiritual. And he had he found ayahuasca during his studies and found it a profitable tool. Now, his intro was short, and his only warning was about a death dose where many people may experience a feeling of dying. Now, when he broke out his iBook and started playing low-tonal trance music, I named him Shaman Macintosh. And as people came to Shaman Macintosh and knelt and drank, and the last person came up and drank and sat back down on their mattress, the circle was complete. Everybody was blindfolded. The music was playing. There were plants of various types strewn around the room to give this subtle illusion of a jungle. But the sound of cars and car alarms and people walking by going, yeah, you know what I'm talking about, assured us we were in a concrete jungle. And all the lights were off, and the windows were covered with dark curtains. And I was sitting there for about an hour in the dark, and no action, and I got bored. So I went downstairs to my room, and I smoked a joint, and I watched some TV, and I came back up, still no action. I'm thinking, well, I don't need to be here. And I looked at my 4 roommates, and I went back downstairs, and I ordered some Thai food for all of us. And we took turns eating Thai food, and finally the puking came. Now, I don't know if it was the ayahuasca or the smell of chicken pad Thai, but I finally got to help somebody to the bathroom. The only one in 6 hours. So after the ceremony, a roommate and I, we went up to the shaman, and we're like, hey, can we drink some? And he kind of smiled, and he poured us 2 shots, and we drank some, and we went downstairs to our room with our iBook, with our way better music, and we sat across from each other, and we had our puke buckets, and we began to trip. Now, I didn't have one inkling of purging, but I had the most visual trip ever. I mean, my pineal gland was being fucked by a big beam of light. Even blindfolded, the walls were melting. I was a satisfied customer. And so a couple months later, I got this email listing all the preparations for my ayahuasca journey. And it read something like, a healthy diet will ensure that the ayahuasca will do its work. The less physical poison that medicine has to purge, the more work it can do with you on higher levels. It said, avoid fatty, fried, and fermented foods, processed foods, salt, and sugars. Yeah, because that Thai food, it really ruined my trip last time. It also stated, avoid alcohol, cigarettes, coffee, and drugs. Those are my 4 main food groups, people. And finally, it said to avoid sex for 3 days before the ceremony. I avoid federal agents. I avoid pianos falling from Park Avenue South. I do not avoid sex. So, the night before the ceremony and the hours before, I proceeded to break every rule. I was out till 5 in the morning. I had 3 hours of sleep, and I had a 9-hour bar shift the next day on the busiest day of the year. I had a shot of whiskey at lunch with a burger, rare, with cheese wrapped in bacon. I was late. I had to run from the bar to the space, frantic to get there in time to get my drugs. And I showed up, and I was dripping with sweat, and I was the last person there, and my roommate and best friend had saved me a seat right next to her, and as I sat down, the ceremony started. Now, this shaman, I had been told, was the real deal, 15th generation, Peruvian, Amazonian jungle, Quechua tribe motherfucker. But I missed the intro. So 30 minutes in, the visions started coming. I mean, faces and moments flashed in sequence through my mind, from my earliest memories of my mother and father to the people in the bar minutes before I left. They all seemed connected in action, reaction, cause, and effect, all leading up to this moment. Except there was something weird on their faces, like they were all looking at me with this smile and this wink, like said they knew. What did they know? And all of a sudden, I got really sick, and hair started to fall out, and skin started to flake off, and I was rapidly aging. And I realized that all these faces were telling me, it's time to graduate. You're gonna die, and you're gonna leave the physical world, and all the purgatory, this suffering and this confusion, and you're gonna join all of us in the spirit realm. Was this a big trick? Oh my God, I joined a cult. I took the death dose. I took the purple Kool-Aid, and my soul was gonna jump on the asteroid, and I didn't even have my roller quarters and my black Nikes. I turned to my roommate best friend, and I said, Danny, I think I'm dying. And she said, no, don't worry, just breathe. Of course, she was in it too, they all were. I'm always the last person to know. The shaman passed me singing this song, and I was so angry that this asshole had poisoned me. I about chucked my water at his head, but I got sick, and so I left the circle, and I went downstairs to my room, and I found my roommate there watching a baseball game, go Cards. And I looked at him, and I said, I think I'm dying, but I'm okay. And I went in the bathroom. And I started to purge, and my insides were liquefying, and I thought I was gonna shit to death. When I didn't, I left my room, I went back out into the hallway, and there were 2 guardians at the top of the stairs, and they were all flowing and hazy from the DMT. And they asked if I was all right, and I said, I think I'm dying, but I'm okay. They said, no, you're fine, just trust us. Trust you? You're the ones trying to kill me. And they said, no, you need to be in the healing of the circle. You need to concentrate on your breathing. You need to hear the shaman's sacred chants. And I put my head in my hands, and they gave me an ultimatum. They said, you can go downstairs and suffer for the next 4 hours, or you can come back up to the circle and be healed. And I thought, I can go die watching a baseball game in a basement, or I can go die next to my best friend in a healing circle. So I went upstairs to die next to my best friend in a healing circle. And as I sat down and I started to breathe, and I started to listen to the shaman's chants and the medicine coursed through me, I realized, you're not gonna die. Today is the first day of the rest of your life. And I also need to make some changes about being a guardian. I now had context. So the next ceremony, I made sure I met with every single participant. Trust was of the most importance because as a guardian, that's all you can offer is your trust. Trust us. Trust the circle. Breathe. Be healed. I remember this one lady, it was her first time, she was a teacher, and she seemed completely comfortable with what she was about to do until 30 minutes into the ceremony, she shot up and she ran to me and she said, "What time is it? Why won't my watch work in there?" And I pulled out my phone and I showed her, I was like, "It's only been 30 minutes. She says, "I am a teacher. I have a class to teach tomorrow. Will I be able to teach my class?" And I said, "Yeah, it only lasts a couple of hours. Remember what I told you. You need to breathe. You need to listen to the energy of the circle. Listen to the shaman's chants. The message will come." "What message? I want to go home." And I knew she wasn't going to go back to the circle, so I laid her down on the couch and I got her a blanket and a pillow. And with 2 hours left in the ceremony, I finally convinced her to go back. And after the ceremony, she ran up to me and gave me a big hug and she said, "That was the most amazing experience of my life." The next day, it was my turn to journey, and this time I followed the prep list to a T, an herbal tea even. The new shaman, he talked about ayahuasca as a medicine and not a drug, and he talked about people being both light and dark, and that on a journey we can travel to both ends of ourselves, and that in the journey it can be both horrifying and beautiful. He also said that you could place an intention to focus your journey. And so when I went up to him, I told him my intention, and he poured the ayahuasca, and he started whispering into it. And he started whistling into it. And then he started singing to it. "Dragoncito, dragoncito, dragoncito, Jeanina." Apparently now my intention was in the glass, and when I drank it, in me. And immediately, when I sat back down, I started to feel like I was dying again. But this time, I accepted it. And it was soon over. And I was soon visiting all these important issues of my intention. And I'm doing all this deep work. And afterwards, I was refreshed. And I felt like I got what I needed. After the ceremony, I was in the kitchen talking to another participant. And we both brought up the fact that these people come and take ayahuasca, suffering for hours, puking and shitting and dying. And they come back. Well, I know why I came back. And it's because ayahuasca gave me a way to look inside myself, removed from time, to see the patterns and the connections in my life. It allowed me to focus on change. I could choose my own adventure. So could everybody. I am a guardian, but everyone dies through ayahuasca. Thank you.